Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 3 in a best of 3 between YueJin and Tarsh in the grand final of the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. So we've got all the way to the 3rd game, and in the first one we saw YueJin succeed. In the second one, Tarsh took the game with his 7th armoured, destroying YueJin's Panther and crushing his hopes with it. Now we're seeing Odon River, and YueJin's going to be bringing out the Demi Brigade SAS on the side of the Allies, and on the side of the Axis we have Tarsh now using the Festung Gros Paris. So we've got basically a DLC masterclass here, seeing a lot of these new DLC divisions come out to play, and honestly I love it. It really helps me understand where these competitive divisions stand, or where these DLC divisions stand in competitive play. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how both decide to play this out. But one thing that's very interesting about this map, and YueJin playing the Demi Brigade SAS, is that YueJin might be able to get quite significantly over these bridges with some of his units before Tarsh even arrives. I believe YueJin will take advantage of this, or at least I hope he does, but the FFI saboteurs in the FFI tractions, I always talk about it, can easily make it over the 50-50 before they need to unload, and in this case that's a big deal because that means they can get over these bridges, which are the choke points in this map that generally slow it down. The other interesting thing though is that both sides have very decent infantry. So on the side of YueJin, you've got Makassar's FFI saboteurs, and then in phase B you've got the SAS coming in. On the side of Tarsh, it's of course the Landesschützen. He's got the Befehlungs, and then in the phase B he gets the ROA. And that means that honestly this map is going to be contested the whole way across, which isn't something you see very often because generally the area where the rivers are gets neglected due to there not being able to be fire support on either side as they push across. But since the infantry is so strong, we may see that being contested the whole way across. Let's have a look at what Tarsh is putting down here. He seems to deploy quite quickly, and honestly I quite like that because it really sort of shows confidence and basically shows that he has a game plan. In this case, it's going to be 2 Landesschützen on the top side here with the Feldgendarmerie, a mortar and the AT gun there. For the mid, it's going to be 3 units of Landesschützen with the IG-18 and the Panzer-MG with the Aufklärer. Further down, another couple units of Landesschützen with the Panzerjägers and even more Landesschützen with the Feldgendarmerie, Panzer-MG with the Aufklärer and this mortar. So, no Befehlungs, which is very odd indeed. It looks like Tarsh really prefers to use the Landesschützen, and I'm not entirely convinced about that decision. Anyway, we're off on the side of YueJin as well as Tarsh, obviously. But these FFI tractions, they're really going to make a lot of ground. Look at that. Where is YueJin going to try and unload them? I'm not entirely convinced about these deployments, but that's going to be a nice amount of infantry arriving there with that mortar to definitely defend this, maybe get into these buildings very quickly. FFI Panzer IV has been purchased at the start, which is quite an expensive unit, but if Tarsh doesn't really bring too much to counter that, then honestly this Panzer IV could make a big dent. These 2-inch mortars will help out quite a lot, and it looks like, is that going to just be normal mortar fire? It is. So basically it looks like YueJin's going to try and stop Tarsh from taking his side of the river on the top. That's going to be up to the FFI saboteurs here. He's got 2 units of FFI saboteurs with the Jebbur. Very interesting combination. Further down it's going to be FFI saboteurs. They did manage to absolutely destroy 1 unit of Landesschützen at close range as they unloaded. That's insane. Makassar's coming up to the centre here with the FFI rallies. And yeah, YueJin has actually managed to make quite a lot of ground. With the help of the 2-inch mortar here, he might be able to sort of go all the way through these Landesschützen as well, because that's pretty much all of the infantry that Tarsh has down here. That Panhard MG really needs to get involved because the half-track is on the side of YueJin and it's really helping out right now. FFI rallies holding the line in the centre here, but the Panhard MG going to be helping out in that case. FFI saboteurs are getting pinned down and are going to be forced back in the face of the Landesschützen and this 50mm mortar. But with the Panzer IV arriving, it looks like he might be able to make a difference up here. He's only up against a Pak 36, and if YueJin notices that, then he can definitely drive through it. These saboteurs aren't going to be surrendered because the Jedbur are nearby. Jedbur are going to get involved with the Landesschützen here and the saboteurs at close range actually. Those Landesschützen are going to be dead. Yep, Jedbur taking care of those quite nicely. Makazars absolutely annihilating the Feldgendarmerie there with the help of the 2-inch mortar. FFI rallies have been pinned down in the centre here, but haven't ceded the ground just yet. That's going to need reinforcing though, otherwise things could definitely start swinging in favour of Tarsh. FFI saboteurs going to be falling back on this top side, but with one of the Landesschützen gone, that might make things difficult for Tarsh to push forward still. And he might not be confident to without all of his infantry available. Now on this bottom side, the Landesschützen did fall back, but the 2-inch mortar still doing work, and it's interesting to see this infantry play across the board, both sides using short-range mortars with infantry and light vehicles. And it basically means that neither player is really going to get an excessive advantage early on. Rallies and Makazars engaging the Landesschützen. I'd really like to see the Kar 98s turned off on these Makazars, because revealing their positions is not ideal, especially at range. But a lot of force is being invested in this top side. It looks like YueJin really wants to make a push through here, and accompanied by his saboteurs, he should be able to find out what he's up against. He has spotted this Pak 36. He knows it's there. Panzer IV could definitely make some serious ground once these Feldgendarmerie are taken care of. They're going to get absolutely annihilated by that Panzer IV shot. Really, really good work. So that's going to take away the veterancy from that top side, which makes a huge difference. But as you can see in the mid, Tarsh has managed to break through with these FFI rallies being forced to fall back. The Landesschützen definitely getting across that river quite nicely, and early on that's nice for Tarsh to take advantage of. But I'm still very surprised that Befehlungs aren't being used, because these Landesschützen, yes, they're not disheartened and they are relatively good at close range, but I don't know. I think Befehlungs are just really good because they stick around. Their sort of strength is just so damn good. It's like their best benefit. In this case, Makazars can be running down those Landesschützen at close range. FFI rallies did manage to make it across the river here and get into this forest as well. That's going to put pressure on the Panhard MG and the Panzer 40. Now this Pak 36 did recover, manages to take out the half-track that brought in the FFI rallies on this top side. Mortar is going to be firing away to try and pin that down. Maybe the Panzer 4 can then take advantage of that. I'm surprised how conservative YueJin is being, considering he knows that this Pak 36 is being pinned down. But maybe just doesn't want to lose the Panzer 4, because that could definitely be a huge swing in favour of Tarsh if he does. So further down here we see the Makazars. They've had to fall back in this tree line. They don't want to get hit by the Panhard MG and the Panzerjäger. I really just like the play across the board right now from both players. They seem to be bringing in the perfect units to support their pushes, and because both players are doing that, it's definitely keeping things around the 50-50 mark. Of course, a +1 in favour of YueJin at the moment, since he has gained ground on the top and bottom side, and Tarsh has only gained ground in the mid. But in general, across the board, it seems relatively even. It just depends on how much work this Panzer IV does. With this Pak 36 still falling back and the infantry still making ground, it looks like YueJin is starting to gain an advantage up here, trying to counter battery the 50mm mortar there. FFI rallies engaging these Landesschützen. They don't have any command nearby, so that's going to be a surrendered Landesschützen. Nice job by YueJin. Start cleaning up the middle of the map. We'll definitely start securing him a lot more territory. But Makazar's being pushed back here on this river crossing as the IG-18 comes up to help out. So IG-18 really doing a fantastic job. We see the B1 BIS coming up. That's going to be hopefully able to take care of the Panzer 40 and the SBW 204. I really like the use of this 204. It definitely is fantastic for taking out these half tracks that can be an issue on the side of the FFI. But Panhard here, that's going to go very aggressive into the face of the FFI saboteurs. Panzerjäger here, going to get hit by the B1 Bis down here. With the howitzer helping out, that Panzerjäger is going to get surrendered. But honestly, if Tarsh gets aggressive with the Panzer 40 and the 204 now, he could really take out this B1 for good. That 204 could just rush it down. Panzerjäger though, eventually losing out, but the mortar gonna get the pin there. 204 is going for the fast move, so is the Panzer 40, but the F5 rallies, they're gonna get the Panzer Shrek kill, and that is a very nice ambush there that is gonna stop that SBW from moving too far forwards. But now we have the Jedburgh. Can they do the job? They are going to do the job, and that is huge for YueJin. He manages to keep his B1 alive, and the Jedburgh really coming up strong there. Coming up trumps with the Gammon bombs, and it's not often you see those hit. So in that case, really good hit indeed, and saves the ass of that B1. Fantastic stuff. Okay, we've got to see this Hotchkiss take care of this Panhard MG, because it's really causing a large swing in territory in favour of Tarsh at the moment. However, it will eventually be surrounded, especially with the Hotchkiss getting involved. There really isn't much to stop these infantry from making ground though. There is of course saboteurs and macassars in these buildings, but they're just pretty much surrounded. And we can see an LEF-H16 brought in. I'm not convinced that this was a decent purchase, especially considering what he's up against, especially in his top side as well. He's going to need Landerschutzen to really hold this town, especially now that he's ceded the ground on the other side of the river here. Because YueJin's going to continue to push with his Panzer IV, supporting his F5 rallies and any other units that he brings up there. And that's going to be difficult for Tarsh to deal with if he doesn't reinforce himself. And investing in artillery at this point seems, to me, like a very bad decision. Now, since both the SBW and the Panzer 40 were taken out, this B1 can now push all the way through. Tarsh has revealed that he's basically using Landerschutzen across the board, and if YueJin has identified that, we'll know that he's not really going to have to be scared of many AT weapons on infantry, because the Beveraungs are the ones who have them. Landerschutzen do not. And that's what makes Beveraungs a lot more valuable, and just not having those is really what makes things very difficult for Tarsh to deal with these with armour units. You can never neglect how strong the armour is on the side of the FFI. In the early phases, they have access to the Jagdpanzer, of course, and that thing can really just swing a game in favour of someone, especially on a more open map. In this case, the Panzer IV being used very well to support the infantry on this top side, and he's absolutely ripped through these Landerschutzen and is going to make even more ground. And if he can get a foothold in this town, well, Tarsh trying to take that back is going to be very difficult. Yes, he can invest in bombers maybe to start pinning down some of those units, but it's going to take time, and the more ground that he continues to cede to YueJin at this point, the more ground he's going to make back, and that's just really going to compound the victory, well, not the victory, but the lead that YueJin has in this game. So +2 currently, and the points are really starting to tick up. So in order to help out his poor old infantry that was left here without any AT, he has brought up 2 Hotchkiss 39s, and those will be able to hopefully clean up a lot of these Landerschutzen. But you can see a Puma has been brought up alongside this Panzerjäger, and that combination could definitely do a lot of damage to YueJin's armour. This B1 in a pretty sticky spot here, honestly. Has managed to get out of line of sight though, and the Jedburgh running into the open to save the day. I really like that play a lot. Just imagine the commander being like, "I'm coming with the smoke, don't worry," and then just lobbing it and covering that B1. Now we're going to look for the engagement with the Hotchkisses versus the Panzerjäger here, and the ammo storage hit is very nice there. It's going to take down the ammo to half. but the second shot from the Hotchkiss 39 beating the Panzerjäger at close range. No surprise there. The turret on the H39 obviously able to aim before the Panzerjäger, with the Panzerjäger having to turn its whole, like it hit its entire hull. But yeah, nice kill. The Puma does manage to return a kill onto one of the H39s, but it's really dependent on whether it can kill both, because if it can, then the infantry is going to be a lot more free to push up. Now again, I'm very surprised about this use of the KM Marine infantry. I would much prefer to see the ROA come in. Like, I feel like this is just wasted points. They're disheartened squads. Like, Ersatz, the strength of Ersatz, right, is that they have 10 strength. Very difficult to get rid of. Whereas the KM Marine infantry, just they're 5-man squads. Then they're not that difficult to get rid of, and they still have the dishearten trait, and they still cost the same as Ersatz. So they're like half the strength, and they just really aren't that good. So I don't know why people have been bringing them in on both sides of YueJin and Tarsh. I think they're absolutely useless. But then again, that may just be my opinion, and I haven't really ever seen anyone show me otherwise. Ju-88 does go down there. Spitfire Mark 9 makes short work of that with the cannon, and it looks like that bomber came in onto this town as I predicted, but it wasn't really followed up with anything, and that makes it kind of an odd decision. There was just a bunch of infantry here. There wasn't like any half-tracks or anything that could take advantage of surrenders and so on. So bringing in a bomber like that and just letting it get shot down is one way to lose very quickly in this game. Anyway, shooter wounded on the B1 BIS. Really nice critical there for the Puma to get early on. Second shot going to get the job done. So that Puma really doing work on this bottom side to keep Tarsh in the game. If that Puma had gone down, the infantry that YueJin has here could have definitely pushed through Tarsh's infantry, considering he reinforced with the Marine infantry. Stug 3. Is it going to kill the Panzer IV? It's got plenty of shots on target. This Panzer IV got engine damaged by the first or second shot, but that's not going to be allowed to happen. 2-inch mortar coming in with the smoke rounds, going to keep it covered, but whether or not that gets actually fixed up in time remains to be seen. Jetbell will stop it from being surrendered for now. But yeah, that smoke only lasts so long, and I'm not sure that YueJin is prepared to invest in the supply right now. Now, an interesting trade of infantry down here just occurred that might allow YueJin to reconnect his infantry to the front line, but a +2 currently in favour of YueJin in this sort of weaker phase. So with the Demi Brigade SES, they get fantastic infantry in phase B, but they don't really get much points to deal with that. They only get 90 per minute, and compared to Tarsh's 135, that's quite a stark difference. So we'll have to see if Tarsh can maybe bring it back during this phase, but with the infantry that he's been using so far, I'm not entirely sure that's going to be possible. There we just saw the Tempest take down another Ju-88 that came in to bomb the F5 rallies. Really, really not worth it. Like, I like the fact that Tarsh has bought the bombers, right? They're very strong, but you've got to make sure that you use them correctly. In this case, again, bombing a location where you don't have any like motorized units to really take advantage of it, and that just, you know, is 250 points now that he's wasted and not got any kills for, which is a big deal. Like, I would have preferred to seen both of the bombers like saved for, and then double bomb this town, and then just throw in a half-track, right, to go and surrender stuff, or just a tank or something. It doesn't have to be a half-track. Just a motorized unit that can go and surrender units. Even like infantry and a troop carrier can go into that town after it gets bombed and surrender loads of units. That's just what I was looking for on that top side, but it didn't happen, and now Tarsh is really looking weak on the ground. He's got 2 units of Marine infantry holding this bottom side, and they've managed to surround these rallies, honestly. But with this IG-18 going down and SAS Chasseur Pala arriving, it's going to be hard to make background through these units. SES Group FM in there as well. The Jedburgh still managing to stay alive. I really like how YueJin makes full use of the resources on all these squads, like uses all these smoke grenades and stuff. It's really, really good play. He has brought in the big off map here. I believe that's over 300mm, so that can maybe take care of some of these units that Tarsh is bringing in to reinforce. If he can find the kill onto the Puma, that would be massive. Spitfire Mark 9 going to be coming in and bombing out the IG-18 there. It looks like Tarsh is investing in these flak M36s, but again, this is another interesting unit. They have 5 HE, right? They're not like flak 88s where they have AP value as well. And that basically means that they have no presence versus tanks. Like, tanks can quite simply run them over. Fortunately, there is no tank on this top side anymore since the Stug finally got the kill onto the Panzer IV. But it's only a matter of time really until one does be brought in. And well, we can see that the YueJin did find the kill onto the Puma, and that is very nice indeed with this off map. He's also managed to pin down the KM Führer and the Marine Infantry squads, and that will allow him to make quite a lot of ground here. SAS Chasseur Para did get chunked quite a large amount. They are normally a 12 strength squad, taking down 6 men. But with the arrival of more Chasseurs Para arriving on this bottom side, they're going to really start cleaning up some of these disheartened units. And, well, like I mentioned before, Tarsh really having a hard time making ground into this town as well. Especially if YueJin continues to reinforce it, and it looks like he is. It's interesting how he brings in the forces to this area rather than just pressing them all the way to the town, because he's not entirely sure where he's going to be with this town in the next couple minutes, since Tarsh is putting so much pressure onto it and is trying to take it back, of course. Now, a Pak 40 has been brought up to this main road, and it'll be interesting to see if that can pick off any units before they unload. Tarsh is actually investing quite heavily in these IG-18s. He's brought in 3 of them. It's actually a really good choice against the Demi Brigade SAS in this phase, because all the Demi Brigade is really going to be bringing in is IG-18, or is infantry. So, and IG-18s are the perfect counter to that. But with the Pak 40 in play here, is that going to be able to pick off one of them? No, it's not. But it is, however, going to be able to engage this flak. Flak's going to be firing back. Oh, that is a lot of damage that Pak 40 is putting out there. One more direct hit will clean that up, and there we go. Also, the off map coming down right on top of those 2 IG-18s, just as Tarsh brings them in, and that is 90 points plus the flak gone down. Huge strike there by YueJin, maintaining his advantage in Phase B. And yeah, those IG-18s, yes, they're fantastic for taking out these Demi Brigade. We've seen it happen before with like the 17th SS going up against the Demi Brigade. But honestly, it looks like he's going to get overwhelmed in this case, especially with both of those IGs going down. Now, one thing that's good here is Tarsh has managed to cut off reinforcements coming down the road towards this town, which means that infantry is going to find it hard getting all the way over here, and that therefore allows him to, you know, sort of surround it and maybe take out these infantry eventually. However, it seems he's going a little bit too aggressive here. He's allowing the SAS here with their Piat to get the kill onto one of the half tracks. These guys are going to unload right into the face of that one and then take that out as well. So, I don't know, that was a bit weird. He definitely had the right idea to cut off the reinforcements to the town, because it's a lot harder to kill infantry in buildings than it is on a main road. But I don't know, the way he dealt with that and tried to be over aggressive over the river, and that was a big mistake. Now this H39 has arrived. That's going to be able to engage the flak M36 down here and the SDKFZ7. It's unlikely to die to the HE from the M36, but can be forced back. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. But yeah, look at the amount of infantry that YueJin has here, and how hard that's going to make it for Tarsh to bring back the ground that he needs. Because currently we're still sitting on a +2 for YueJin, and that's not really going away anytime soon. 8 minutes and 35 seconds roughly until victory for YueJin now. Off map coming in once again, that's going to really hit home on top of this M36. I like the way that he's focusing these units that in my opinion are quite overpriced. So if that takes out both the 45-point IG-18 and the flak M36, that is a lot of points, 140 points down the drain for Tarsh. And that's over a minute worth of income, which is crazy. So the engagement continues up here. Stug is supporting the push of a couple units through this town, but those units are very low on health, and you can see the Maquisards alongside the Chasseurs Para making very short work of those. Maquisards are coming in as well up here, accompanied by an M4A375. They might be able to push through. Now that's one thing that has come about now since we've jumped into Phase C. Demi Brigade SAS of course getting the 150 point per minute, but also getting the brilliant American units, the M4A376 and the M4A375. And both of those make it very difficult for the Festung to like deal with, because they're just going to get overwhelmed. Yes, they can bring in Panthers, but look how annoyingly enclosed this map is for a Panther. You can't use a Panther on this map effectively. There's just not enough open space. So Shermans work really well, and that YueJin's just going to get more of an advantage because of that now. And yeah, supporting his infantry with those M4A3s is going to be a big deal. So Pack 40 opening up onto the Panzergrens, just wait until the M4A3 does as well. That is nasty. So it doesn't look like the off-map actually killed the M36, but it definitely killed off the IG. Gives his infantry a little bit more wiggle room. But on this top side, taking out that Landerschutzen squad, very important for relinking the territory on this top side, pushing him back to 60%, giving him a little bit of a buffer on that +2. YueJin must be very comfortable in this game right now, especially being in this phase and also sitting on a +2 already. So yeah, it's going to be very hard for Tarsh to make back ground in time. There is still 15 minutes left on the clock, but he would have to stop the tick from YueJin and then find himself a +2 or even a +3 in order to win the game in time. And that is definitely hard work. So it looks like things just got a little bit too far out of hand now. Not having any Beverungs early on, I think, hurt him quite a bit actually. Like the lack of AT allowed those half-tracks to just sit there and do a lot of damage. I don't know. There was a lot of errors in the way that I think that Tarsh played the Festung, like losing those 2 bombers in the mid-game as well. I liked the idea of bringing in the bombers, but just not using them in that way. Stug 3 does go down at close range, M4A3 winning the aim time battle there easily. Of course the Stug has to turn its entire tank. Sherman can just come around the corner, insta-aim with its stabilizer, get the job done. Now the Sciatic Panzer has come in. That gets taken out. Just adds insult to injury really. Pack 40 killing off the 2-star Jagdpanzer. That is tragic. Very tragic indeed. Now this Hummel does manage to take out the Pack 40. But can it take out anything more significant? The thing is about a Hummel is it costs 180 points. And I find that you're quite hard pressed to make those pay off themselves throughout a game often. Now on this bottom side we can see the S07 pack being engaged by an M4A3. The M4A3 will always win this engagement, especially if it's in 1000 meter range. That's just because the M4A3 can fire its 50 cal and just pins down the S307 pack very quickly indeed. So unless the S307 pack just one-shots out of luck, the M4 should always win, and in this case that was shown. Now this M4A3 is going to be trying to break its way through the tree line here, but Tarsh is going to surrender. Not much chance for him to come back in this game, and after 26 minutes and 23 seconds, YueJin is going to be victorious and win himself the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament. Fantastic job. Previously was denied the place by Q2521, but in this time around comes out on top. Really good series of games. Really enjoyed this. So, commiserations to Tarsh, but honestly, Tarsh is easily the most improved player throughout this tournament. At the beginning of the tournament, I was really skeptical. I think he maybe just didn't have much confidence in his play, and played very slow, and even managed to get through the lower bracket round 2 by Duro giving him the victory. You know, I think his confidence took a blow early on, but as we saw towards the end of the tournament, he'd picked up a lot of practice and really used that to his advantage. And I really hope that we see him in more tournaments in the future, because he really put up a good fight against YueJin here. He's one of the better players in the community. So awesome stuff. Really good to see new and upcoming players. So 2,170 kills to 1,135 losses. I think that was obviously well represented at the end there. Tarsh was definitely running low on units on the battlefield. Losing those 2 bombers for 250 points is a pretty big blow in the mid game. So yeah. Now this F5 Panzer IV didn't quite pay itself off early on, but definitely provided the support that he needed for his infantry to make ground across that bridge early on and into phase B. Did get killed off eventually by the Stug, but by then had done its work in getting infantry into that town that made it very difficult for Tarsh to push back. B1 also did a great job in the bottom side supporting infantry. H39's great choice as well, kept them at close range, actually managed to take out the Panzerjäger. JU-188s, well, they went down to the Cannon, CA and the Tempest. Yeah, not great there. This naval battery though, 3 IG-18s in the Puma. Very nice indeed. That Puma kill was very important indeed. Pack 40 took out the M36 and killed off that Jagdpanzer that came in. That was absolutely tragic, but at that point Tarsh had probably already lost, so it wasn't particularly meaningful. M4A3 killed off that Stug at the end. Nice close range engagement, gets the job done. In terms of losses, well, the Puma, it did really well, and that's why it was so important to kill it, because taking out both of those H39s and the B1 BIS really put a hold on YueJin's push on that bottom side, and managing to find the kill onto the Puma allowed the spam of SAS in the phase B to actually break through those tree lines. Otherwise, that Puma definitely could have stopped and prevented that for a long amount of time. I like the introduction of the Stug 3 actually on the top side, especially a 2-star one, because it did provide the fire support for Tarsh to then get infantry back into the town, but unfortunately didn't do well in the end, dying to that Sherman. But just look at the limited amount of kills that Tarsh got early in the game. That really shows a lot of where YueJin's advantages came from. Later on, he did start to make a little bit of a dent, but it mainly came from the Stug and the Puma in the mid-game. Later on, these Marine infantry, they managed to clean up a few units, but just not very effective. These 2-star Panzergrens, though, they did well. 2 SAS Group at FM, that's nice. And cleaning up a Makazars and a Group at FM there is nice as well. Hummel taking out the Pack 40, not quite paying itself off, very late to the party. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I'm convinced with that. You'd be better off just bringing in more JU-188s. But yeah, it's interesting that a lot of people would say that the Festong's probably one of the most irritating divisions to play against right now, but apparently not one of the most overpowered in 1v1, since the Demi Brigade and the 7th Armoured both beat it so far. Now, we obviously haven't got a large pool of games to work from, and maybe, you know, competitive players haven't managed to have a go with the Festung much because it's probably always banned. But yeah, it's interesting to see it finally be played and not really come up trumps on the other divisions. So there you have it. Interesting game. Really enjoyed this best of 3 series. Loved the tournament. Thanks to Proto Soccer, of course, for hosting it. I will be jumping straight into the 4th Asia Pacific tournament, which did take place last weekend. So yeah, I'll be looking into casting those games. So plenty more competitive replays to come. I absolutely love casting them for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy them too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.